Welcome to the Woodstock Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to Woods Talk with me, budget lesbian Rory Woods, and I'm delighted to welcome back to Woods Talk, making a second appearance, Vittorio Prosciutto Angelone. How's it going, back?
Yes, I got the second booking. This is all I've been aiming for all year. It's fucking unbelievable. I'm back as the royal correspondent for the Woods Talk podcast.
Because that's the thing. I was about to say, thanks for coming on and doing the podcast and taking a break from going viral and having all your stuff nicked by fucking trolls, man.
God, I hate that. I was on someone's podcast recently. They were like, it was like, if you owned a desert island and could like start society from scratch, what laws would you put in place? And I was like, the death penalty for meme accounts.
Oh yeah,
they're the worst thing. And it's the problem is anyone who's not a comedian doesn't understand why you're annoyed.
Yeah,
at all, because you're just like, they're like, it's my job, but it's like, I'm not getting paid for that tweet, but that tweet leads to fans, leads to ticket sales, leads to work, and it's like, and it's just so like, it's so frustrating to see something you made and someone else going, yeah, we'll make money off that as well.
Yeah, it seems like, from people, as you say, it's people who aren't involved in comedy directly probably wouldn't gauge why it is so frustrating. Yeah. But, you know, I think the sort of the neutral people assume that it's very easy to get a tweet, to get that, you know, to go viral, essentially. But just because you talk about something that's very much in the news at the moment, it doesn't always guarantee that it's, like, nobody can go, I'm going to do a viral video or I'm going to do a viral tweet. You put out this tweet, put out the video, and it might, depending on...
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I'm...
You know what I mean?
Excessively active on Twitter because I know you just have to keep shooting. Mm-hmm. And then I've had odd bits of success and then you build your following a bit more. And it becomes easier the more followers you get. Yeah. The more quickly you can reach out to kind of a bigger audience so it has the potential to go viral. But I kind of think like I probably tweet 5 things a week that could go viral if the right people see it at any given time. But it's like, but that's why it's annoying, because it's like that one tweet that someone took recently, like that took like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to make the continual effort of always trying to have like, or making jokes about stuff and always being on top of it. It's like, it's not about the one tweet, it's about the continual accounts just go, oh, we'll take the good bits.
Yeah,
and
just get that.
And they're getting paid. Like, they have social media managers and they have all this stuff, and you're just like, I'm just too annoyed about such a stupid thing.
Yeah, because again, that's the thing. I mean, when you're in, I've never been in that position. I don't put out a lot of stuff. But as someone who does, I mean, do you feel conflicted about really outing the people that take it? Because to some people, that'll come across as if you're just being a wee bit fickle over what is essentially a tweet or something, even though I don't, like, I can appreciate the work you put into it. But
the optics are really difficult on it, because you're like, do I want to scream and shout and call them parasitic little cunts? or do I want to shrug it off? And I know people who have had their videos nicked and go, oh, shout out to Odds Bible for sharing my video. And I'm like, but they haven't shared your video. Like, they've just profited off it and not credited you in any way. And the thing is, right, there's the odd time where like joe.ie has shared a tweet that I've done on their Instagram.
Yeah, I had that once. Yeah.
And did they tag you?
Yeah.
And like, it gets you loads of traction back towards your page, and loads of people follow you. And it's so like they can still do the thing that they're doing, which is curating the best of the internet. Like they can still do that, but all they have to do is, oh, credit to this person. And then everyone wins. It's the easiest thing in the world. So that's why it feels like malicious, like deliberate it feels deliberate to not do it when my name's there on the fucking tweet. And then you just end up having to, because when I make videos and stuff now, I have to like put a watermark with my fucking tag in it and like all this, and it's just so much fucking effort. And then you get sick of putting in the watermark because a few videos haven't gotten any traction. Then you go, fuck it, I won't do it for this one. And then the one that you don't put the fucking watermark on, someone steals, and you're just like, it really fucks me off. And like, but again, like maybe I should just chill out on it and let people, like, it's not as bad when they screenshot your tweet and your username's in the picture. Like it's not as easy for people to reach you, but at least your name's there and it's like doing something. But the problem with the one recently, for anyone that hasn't seen it, it was very stupid, just added subtitles to still images of the Harry and Meghan interview that said basically the instructions on how to do the Yaya Touré code. Which is so stupid. Do you know that's my yearbook quote in upper sixth was Colo 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 Touré.
Class. Love it. Love it.
But it's like, so people didn't, it wasn't like a screenshot of my tweet. It was like they just took the images.
Yeah, I did. I seen it. I did see what they did. Yeah.
And I was like, what? I don't know. I get really annoyed about it. There's nothing. It's never going to stop. They're always going to do it. It's too profitable for all of those pages to do that.
Yeah.
But it's actually what's good is like getting annoyed about it causes other like comedians and kind of Twitter personalities to kind of weigh in and like share it and go, yo, these people stole this from X, Y, and Z. So you can recoup some of the loss of like traction on your page from that. But you know, for every one that you see, there's 100 other smaller pages that are doing the exact same thing.
Because I do wonder, I mean, as you say, it's not particularly time consuming to credit the original like tweet or whatever, but I wonder for the people who've had their videos nicked from a tech point of view, again, I don't understand it, so you might not either, but if somebody wants to steal your video, there's no watermark, they want to steal your sketch or whatever it is and put it on their website and claim it as their own, how the fuck can they download it? Do you know what I mean? Like that might sound
it's literally the screen recorder. That's what most people do. I've had that done with me. The worst one I ever had, and it's a joke that doesn't work anymore, but it was the first like joke that I ever wrote. Which was people always ask me the difference between Catholics and Protestants, and it all comes down to transubstantiation. Catholics genuinely believe that the bread and wine turns into the body and blood of Jesus Christ, and Protestants genuinely believe that Rangers are going to win the league. A classic joke. Like it's very much a jokey joke.
I can see now why it doesn't work.
Unfortunately. Or fortunate, whatever. Someone screen recorded it, cropped the end of the video out where I normally do a flash over to like a picture of me with all my tags on it, just to be like, don't forget to follow or whatever. Cut that out of the end of the video. Again, feels very deliberate. And then tweeted it, but put the punchline in the caption of the tweet. And I'm like, what's the fucking point?
That's the dumbest thing, man. That would be like if you see a site and they just like basically just to get to the other side and then a picture of a chicken. You'd be like, all right,
you go on Tucker and you go, the Sixth Sense, and it's just a video that goes, he's a ghost.
he's dead the whole time. Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Soze. Download here. So dumb, like.
It's so annoying. And then the guy was like, "I was just trying to share your video," and I was like, "You're not." And they never follow you either. Like, it's. I know I sound so hysterical and like stupid, and like people won't get it, but it's just so frustrating. But like, look, on a level, it's a good sign. You know, stuff you're doing is good, or like people want, like, it's worth fucking stealing. And it works out well. Some people's videos, like Bert Kreischer when he did The Machine, like it wasn't him posting it that went viral the first time.
Yeah.
It was someone else stole the video and posted it. Difference is you can Google topless American comedian and he'll probably fucking he'll probably come up. Whereas, what would you fucking Google for me? That way, Italian guy. You know the one.
It's fucking gay. Yeah. It's fucking madness, man. As you say, it's like a double-edged sword where it's like, it's a good sign, but you know, but I wonder, you know, is it also a bad sign in the same way? In that we're like, well, if this is deemed stealable by hacky, shite comedy websites, is that, and I'm not slagging, but you know, like if I was in that situation, I'm going, if they think this is fucking hilarious, maybe it's not. Maybe this would be more so my case than yours, where I'm like, it's probably not that good, and people have nicked it. Do you know what I mean? It'd be an equivalent of like, like if an open micer stole your material, you'd be like, maybe I should be writing better stuff. You know what I mean? And that's not a criticism. Hopefully it doesn't come.
No, I know what you mean.
What I mean? Yeah.
And there's an interesting thing, again, Bert Kreischer said, where he was like, he tries to write all of his material, so it's literally impossible to steal. It's too personal to who he is and what he does. And look, like, I will never claim that my Twitter account is the height of my comedic abilities. Like, it's not fucking pieces of art. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it feels like doodles on a napkin at a restaurant. You know what I mean? It's just stuff you're kind of like churning out, and it's as much practice for like joke writing and premise writing as it is for any of the kind of like benefits of like it, people seeing it or anything. So look, do I think the fucking Harry and Meghan pictures are the funniest thing I've ever done, or like the most artistically like valid, or like whatever? Like, no, like there's absolutely like, so, imagine I just gone, yes I do, fuck you, Woodsy.
Don't diss my art, bro. The big lad's art is fucking saying.
But it is that fucking word. I literally think that, like, if I'm at a really bad gig in like a mad like right wing outside of London town in Surrey, and I start doing well, I'm like, fuck. Maybe I'm a cunt.
That's a good question. Like
if you absolutely smash it at the Empire, do you not get a bit fucking self-conscious?
You're like, oh no. I have to say, like, I haven't been looking into the whole Harry and Meghan thing overly. I do feel from afar, you know, I would have preferred Jeremy Kyle instead of Oprah, for sure.
Oh, 100. Somebody said Jerry Springer with no security. And then I saw somebody say, get Jerry Springer to interview Kate and William and have Harry and Meghan in the back.
Yeah.
And be like, we've got them here.
Yeah. It's kind of like, they always do that in American talk shows where they're like, they bring on these kids and they're like, so we understand your dad's in Afghanistan and you miss him very much. And then they start crying. Like, well, guess what? The cunt's here. And then
he comes in with one leg on crutches. Daddy, where's your leg?
As soon as I know, we'll give you a shout.
Have you ever seen fake ones of those? That's mad as fuck. Like,
no, but I want to. I really want to.
Oh my god, it's like, it's just pure like internet like whores trying to act. So I saw one where this woman was like dropping the, have you seen the ones where they drop the signs where they have like, it's like my husband is standing beside me. I don't know anything about this. They just told me to drop these bits of paper one by one after 2 seconds. And it's just like pure piano music in the background. And then number one, there was about 7,000 bits of paper. And I'm like, it's not a dissertation. Just get the fucking camouflage man out, would you?
It's not like Love Actually, what the fuck?
And he's the guy standing behind her with his hands on her face. And I'm like I think I would know the smell of my girlfriend's hands.
Right.
Like it,
because it's you. smell of Broughton gammon. There you go.
But she turns around and he like takes her hand up. She turns around and goes, and then they hug like really timidly and like it's so Americans are so mad in the comments. Everyone's like, "That's not official army uniform." Blah 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 blah. That's sakes.
Yeah, I could honestly watch any video like that. I always find when I'm hungover and I'm just going down a rabbit hole on YouTube, that's it. And I always feel like it's always like soldiers returning home and they usually like propose or some shit. And I'm like, I just want to see the moment that like there's a woman sitting in a cafe and her husband's just got out of prison and he just sprints and bucks her. He's just like, do you know what I mean? Where it's just like, no, usually it's always romantic. He just comes out in a boiler suit and a serious chub and he's like, here, Dervla, cack, would you? Because the big man needs to bust a nut here and I want it to ricochet off the inside of your blurt. You know what I mean? Like table tennis.
Pinball going around her uterus like.
I love them videos, man. Absolutely. And again,
the dog ones are the best because that takes the kind of the humanity out of it, which is nice.
Yeah, dog ones are good. There's been a few that I've watched where it's like, and this is dumb anyway, but somehow it does work. Where it's like one of the kids in a family has been away at college for so long that he's like, I'm going to go and sit opposite my family in a restaurant and see if they recognize me. And most of the time, it does fucking work. Where they're just sitting there, maybe because they've grown a bit of a beard or they've lost a bit of weight because they're at whatever. So the family's just sitting there going, that cunt looks familiar. And then like, and it works. People are just, and then he sort of goes like, oh, how's it going? It's me, Declan. And they're like, oh, fuck, so it is. We thought you were dead or some shit. And then
what was that fucking Stevie Wonder's son? What the fuck?
No, I swear to God, there's so many examples. Someone's like getting the spag ball and Frankie and Benny's and just being like, doesn't your man look? He looks. Nah, it couldn't be him though. So he's at university. And then 10 minutes later,
he's at McGee. It'll never be him. That's fucking mad.
Yeah.
Have you seen the one of where they send in a fake Gordon Ramsay to a restaurant?
No. Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Oh, so funny. Just your guy who like really doesn't look very much like Gordon Ramsay, but he's just in there going, the chicken. And they're all like, yes, Chef Ramsay.
Yeah. No sweat. I have to say,
I love Kitchen Nightmares. It makes me so happy.
It's the best. It is the best. Before we get into that, though, there was a thing that went, let's say you probably noticed it on Twitter a week or two ago. So I think it was like Mark Nelson or something. I seen it shared about like this lookalikes website, these people that you can hire for events. This guy looks like fucking Gandhi or something out there. And you're like, no, he doesn't. This girl looks like Vanessa Feltz. No, she doesn't.
Yeah.
She just doesn't.
I love that.
It's amazing.
I read that whole thing. I was just laughing the whole time. Because imagine, like, how many people have to say, because have you been told you look like anyone aside from Sue Perkins?
Yeah. I've had Ben Mitchell from EastEnders, Gok Wan, both the Proclaimers.
These are just glasses lookalikes.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense and makes sense at the same time. Alan Carr I got a few times, but Harry Potter, stuff like that, really sort of shitey stuff. What about you? Have you ever had anything?
Yeah, I used to get Paolo Nutini back in the day. And and then Thomas Muller.
Thomas, oh, you do
footballer.
though. You do.
Yeah.
You do. You fucking holy fuck, you do, yeah. Sorry to be a dick. You fucking do.
Because I used to play in orchestras and stuff. That was in Ulster Youth Orchestra. A conductor called Gary Walker, who's Scottish, got up on the first day of rehearsal of this like residential youth orchestra camp, and gets up to conduct the first piece and goes, "Geez, you look a lot like Thomas Muller." Anyway, and just fucking cracked on with the beat.
You actually look so much like Thomas Muller that, you know, I guarantee if you were in public and you were eating a yogurt, someone would have the caption, Thomas Muller Corner. I guarantee.
Yeah. I should make my own viral thing.
And then I'll steal it and be like, that's so good,
isn't it?
That's fucking good. You were saying there about nightmares, though, man. It's great. Fucking great.
The fucking, speaking of the like watermark and stuff thing, here is the most genius and like positively, but like in a diabolical in a positive way. Do you remember when all those nudes were leaked in down south, particularly? A girl had, whoever she was sending the picture to, she really subtly watermarked it with their name. So whatever version or whatever picture got leaked, she knows exactly who she sent it to.
Yeah.
Who's passed it on.
Yeah, that's clever.
Like, that's fucking like, but surely at that point, I mean, I know a lot of women just fucking don't trust men, and they've been vindicated time and time again. but it's like, surely at the point where you're like, I'm gonna watermark his name subtly in the corner here in case he sends it on. Like, fuck that guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, like you don't trust him.
Again, and from a tech point of view, that just seems like a lot of work to get the text so small. You'd have to zoom in and just see like Declan written on the labia.
It was probably massive and in bright white. The guy was just looking at the tits in the picture. Like, what are you talking? You could put it in fucking bulbs in word art or whatever.
Do we paper clip?
Be like,
oh my God, like any sort of blurt pics and all. I mean, it's handy if the fella that you're trying to expose has like an O in his name. So if it's Bob, it's just a B either side of the howl. You'd be perfect. You've got the V. Jesus Christ. Vittorio Flangellone, there you go. Oh my God. Man.
Sorry, I diverted us from Kitchen Nightmares, which I've seen every episode of and get really excited when I stumble across one that I haven't seen before.
Yeah. I assume you sort of feel the same as me. I think the UK version of it is dog shit, but the American one's amazing. I don't like the UK one.
I don't even think I've seen it. I've maybe seen the UK one once.
It's far too serious.
The American one is just like I got really, really into it over that first lockdown because I was just back in Belfast just watching all the TV that was on during the day, and like it perfectly fits. Every episode perfectly fits the hero's journey. Like, you know, the hero's journey that's supposed to be like every great story follows this structure.
Yeah.
Every single episode, because you've got like the introduction of the characters. They're posed with a problem. You reach a point in the middle where it seems like it's not going to work, and that's the point where they're like, Gordon's like, I might have to give up on this one, and you're always like, he's not gonna leave, is he? And then there's a resolution at the end, and people come out changed for the better. Yeah. Every single episode perfectly fits the hero's journey.
It's like a Marvel film. They stole that. Marvel have stole the formula for every single MCU film from Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. You know what I mean? 100%. I don't remember at any point.
Should have watermarked it.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember at any point though. Iron Man saying the menu was too big.
Thor's just looking in the fridge like, is this cooked and uncooked?
Contamination, Loki. Class.
And
It's a
it
fucking
ends with a terrible pun. And it looks like the pizza has met the chips and then like walks off into the distance.
Yeah. Looks like this pizza chef is a dozy bastard. It's, you know what the thing is though? It's such an addictive show, and you tune into each episode thinking this is gonna entertain me in new ways, but it doesn't. It's the same problems every time where I'm like, you don't clean, your menu's the size of the fucking Quran, and the chef is bollocks, and you don't have any business experience. And do you remember the girl opened a drive-through Italian restaurant? Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah. She's like, there's your bolognese.
There's your bruschetta, just flinging it like communion. The dumbest thing. Do you remember the one with like the dwarf twin guys that had a wee Italian restaurant?
No.
Mate, well, I say dwarves, they were just small and pudgy. But
oh fuck.
Like,
maybe I do that.
And it was like Gordon was like, you don't have enough passion for this restaurant. And the guy was like, I don't think I do. So Gordon basically went, look, we're making fresh meatballs from now on. You know what I mean? Because we're mad cunts in an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And
it rings a bell.
He makes him go outside and be like, we have fresh meatballs. And he just makes the guy squeal on the street. And funny enough, if someone was outside Maggie Mae's going, we do a bumper fry, I'm not going in.
Taco chips. Taco chips.
Soda. Like that. Soda.
There's places like that in London. There's Brick Lane in East London, which is like where a lot of the curry houses are.
Mm-hmm.
We used to take like uni department would go as like 20 people and would just like get smashed and then go for a curry afterwards. And if you walk with any, like even just by yourself, like walking down, like guys from the restaurants just walk out from either side and go, I give you a good deal, I give you, and then like try and like pull you into their restaurant. But if you're fucking smart with it, you start to like, you get all of them together and then like you're basically auctioning off your custom at their curry houses. And when you have, so when I was kind of like in my final year and like taking the department out for drinks or whatever, I would have like 20 people and then you've got so much buying power. Yeah. Like you can GameStop with the curry fucking thing. So you go and you're like, I would just be like, right, here's what we all only have £10 is what you would always open with. Like we've all just been to the cash machine and we all have £10 each. And what we want is starter, main, rice, poppadom, naan, and 2 beers. And the first guy would go, no. And I go, right, lads, next one. And then you just go to the next one and go, here's for a tenner, here's what we want. Starter, main, rice, naan, poppadoms, and 2 beers. And every time we got it, £10 for all that shit. And it was class. Yeah. So good.
That's unreal, man. That's a fucking like solid technique. You know what I mean? Just wait to get you in. Like I think it's like the same in Paris and stuff, where the people and like I don't know if I could ever do that as a job. You know, be like, you know, like go outside, and be like, come on in here to fuck. And again, like it's like flying at Edinburgh. We were like, come on in and eat our fucking lasagna. It's fucking great.
I cracked the code of flying in Edinburgh where I didn't have to do the normal way, and I think this is something like more people should do for flying shows in Edinburgh, where it's like, so I would go an hour and a half early to my venue, which had multiple rooms in it, and whatever shows the people were queuing up for that finished just before my show started, I would flyer the queue because they're all just standing there. It's not like they're going past. It's not like you're trying to like grab them or anything. They're just stood there. So you just have a bit of crack with each group of people in the queue and say, look, when this show finishes, you'll come out of the door, and then if you just turn left, you'll be in the room that my show's in.
Yeah.
And there's toilets and there's a bar. You can grab drinks, do a piss, whatever. Perfect. And like people are just looking to fill their day, especially when it was raining. I was like, you don't even have to go outside.
Yeah, that's like
just go straight from. So like literally every single day it was just like, and they were all like magic shows as well. So I opened every single one of my Edinburgh shows by going like, right, who just saw a magic show? And I was like, yous are grown-ups. What are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Why is this happening?
Yeah, magic's a load of balls, man. Like it would take like particularly at a low level. I'll say that at a low level, when you just get someone just going, I can pull a 2p out of my ear, and what is that going to do for you?
Yeah.
Can you pull? You know what I mean? Something else.
Like once you've seen Dynamo put like Biggie Smalls through a fucking iPhone or whatever, like
yeah, you're like that. That's
these
good,
card tricks aren't gonna hack it. I'm like, yeah, that's you put somebody through something, mate, or walk on water, or even like I like the David Blaine stuff where he's just like, oh, what that Jesus guy do? I'll do it in a box or whatever.
I'll do it as well. Sure, fuck it. Nothing worse than like, I am a master of the mystic arts and the art of deception. Is this your card? Is this your card? Is this it? And then 20 minutes later, you're going, it's that one. And you're like, oh, magic. That only fucking ate 40 minutes of my fucking time. Just you going, is that your card there? Is it?
Something wrong with you if you're like middle-aged and you're going to see an hour-long magic show in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Something's gone wrong in your life.
100%. Yeah. Well, again, I just can't understand what you get out of it. I wonder, do magicians approach their show the same way we would if we were doing our stand-up? Do they have their opening bits and like stuff to like sustain in the middle?
Yeah, you got to open strong.
Yeah, you have to open. They can't, like, and if they got their big closer where they just make their audience disappear, and you're like, well, there was only 6 people in, so that wasn't hard.
Yeah, but is the closer? Do they close on a callback? And they're like, 2 diamonds again. See you later.
My assistant is back. He's alive.
He's alive. Yeah, he's just doing a shit.
She sewed herself back together during the show.
It's just at the back, like.
Just a second.
But they're not even by hand with like a sewing machine. Be like. We used to do that when we were kids at my granny's house. We would steal my uncle's newspaper and like sneak into the other room, and like Granny was in on the prank, and we would sew the newspaper together. We would sew it shut. Yeah. And then we would like run in as like little fucking excited kids and go, there's Eugene, there's your newspaper. And he would unroll it and then go to open it, but it was sewn shut, so we would just like tear the newspaper in half, and we were all like, oh, we got him.
I remember when I was a kid, I don't know if you ever did this, when you got an Easter egg as a kid, which by the way, even as a kid, I struggled to finish Easter eggs. I don't even know how people are like, it's 6 Easter eggs.
Did you have those people? This is the thing in school, people like 13 Easter, and I was like, 1.
Yeah.
Like 1, it's so much.
Yeah. I was big into chocolate, obviously, when I was that age, because I was that age. But again, it was always like 2 or 3 sessions over a week to get 1 finished. But when I was really young,
it's nice having it to pick away at and whatever.
Yeah, it was always there. I used to love again, my dad's a dickhead. I used to get like the Easter egg when it was still like in the wrapping, and then slap it off my head.
Yeah, I love that. So
mate, what is it about that? So my dad decided, I don't like this wee fella anymore. So basically I had like it was like a Smarties one, and it was still in the actual box, and somehow my dad was able to open it. I think he like held it over a kettle to like steam it and then left it, and he put it out, and he took the like Easter egg and put it in the freezer for like half an hour, put it back in the box. So then when I went man, I nearly knocked myself out. It was just like
that's a power dynamic that like, I don't know about you, like my parents like aren't very good at like taking jokes and pranks and stuff. So like my dad would do shit like that to me, but if I did it the other way, first of all, my dad puts all chocolate in the freezer. That's how he likes to eat it, which I think is mental.
Yeah,
like double deckers. He'll put double deckers in the freezer.
No need in the freezer. There's no need for that.
Yeah,
no need.
It's wild. Yeah. But one Christmas, what I got my dad for Christmas was, in about October, I stole his iPad and hid it, and then wrapped it and gave it to him on Christmas Day. So he was iPadless for like 2 months, and I was just like, "Hey, problem solved."
You don't have to use your imagination anymore. Pornhub away. You don't have to fuck the hole in the sofa anymore. Happy days. Filling it with beetroot. God bless you.
Beetroot, so specific. That's like an old Turkish proverb. Is a woman for love, melon for a woman for love, a boy for pleasure, and a melon for ecstasy.
In that order?
Well, those are so like fucking a woman is grand and whatever, but a boy, you'll love it.
Aye,
and then a melon, you feel like you're whapped out your head at Thompson's.
Oh, I have to say, like I didn't really play any pranks on my dad. Although, like, my dad was the type to, like, like if he'd made himself a cup of tea and he would stir it with a wee teaspoon, you'd have the teaspoon and then come up behind you when you were sitting on the sofa and put it on your neck, just like a sort of thing. And you'd be like, that here. Do you know what I mean? Like, but we never had really too many pranks and stuff like that there. I remember once, so, do you know, like when you're really young, and I'm still an idiot now, but I should have been wearing a bib most of my fucking childhood. And I remember my mum said to me, I can turn into a dwarf. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, leave the room and close the door, which I did. And then she did a thing where you get down like on your knees, but you put your slippers.
The shoes on. The shoes on.
Yeah. Man, I walked back in and I freaked the fuck out. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, my ma's a midge. Jesus Christ. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what? I was like, how do we proceed from here? Because I'm used to being...
How do we proceed?
Do we have to sell your dungarees now? What the fuck's going on? I was like, so you're a midget now? That's the way. Do you know what I mean? So do we have to get a high chair?
Oh my god!
Yeah, I freaked out, like properly, like near booked. You were just because I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, oh, I'm a midget now. That's just the way. Right? Okay. You know what I mean? It's so weird.
It's just so funny. It's just so funny.
Yeah, like legit scared. Like,
oh fuck's sake, that's so fucking funny. Speaking of, when we're talking about kind of like shite TV that we're watching, number one, I got wildly into 4 in a Bed over that first lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen 4 in a Bed?
I've seen bits of it. Yeah, very decent.
Oh, it is. Do you know, 4 in a Bed and Come Dine With Me are the same, right? The way they've produced it is they want you to watch 4 episodes in a row, so you like watch the full series, so you see everyone's house or everyone's B&B. But every so often, and I can't work out when or why, you get the hour-long combo episode where they include all of the Come Dine With Me's in 1 hour, and it's just cut more like aggressively and just like just gives you the actual bullet points that you need.
Yeah,
those are so much better.
Oh yeah,
than the fucking like when you're sitting. Like, I need to watch every single fucking Ratatouille that's going in this fucking...
Yeah, I agree. Because again, it sort of appeals to you in that it's essentially binge watching, like a bumper edition of it. You know what I mean? Because these days, bar like, I think maybe WandaVision might be the only thing that I've watched like as it aired. Do you know what I mean? We're like, oh, I'll wait till next Friday to the next episode. Whereas nearly everything I've watched for years has always been on the full seasons on Netflix, and I'll watch it over the space of a night in some cases, or 2 or 3. Whereas, but Come Dine With Me, like, I can't imagine if you were watching it as it aired going, well, Janet's got a 7. She did a very good fucking velouté, and we'll see how Derek gets on tomorrow night. But you know, he's trying to do patatas bravas and he's a fucking retard, so we don't know.
I'm trying to think the last thing I watched as it came out.
Yeah.
I thought like
Queen's Speech. Big man's
I
got to
can't
come.
think of
Have to
anything.
come. Have to bust.
Can't think of anything that isn't sports that I watch live anymore. And even then, if it's an American sport, I just get up and watch the highlights on YouTube.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I'm not massively into a lot of American things, you know, like in UFC and stuff. But you know, I really don't understand when you're here staying up to like 5 a.m. to watch McGregor fight. When you're like, just get the highlights the next day, you'll be fresh.
Just
as
get
fuck.
the highlights, or like I get it.
Watch away, sort of.
An excuse for a party, like because I was a student when a lot of the early McGregor stuff was happening. So
yeah,
like it was just like we would just get steaming and kick the fuck out of each other and then watch the UFC and just like, and like I remember there was one night where the progression of things we watched is we started watching the prelims and then realized that none of us really knew anything about mixed martial arts, so we're getting wildly bored by this stuff. And then the thing to bridge the gap between the prelims and the main card was we just watched loads of porn bloopers.
Bloopers? I've seen that.
Have you ever watched porn bloopers? Mate, they're so funny.
That's the best thing.
It's just, and they're like, and they're so like, you just see that like this is their office, like it all just like fractures, and the girl's like, oh, for fuck's sakes, you weren't supposed to come there.
This is all very local Northern Irish porn you're watching. Fuck's sake, you're supposed to come there.
Fuck it. You fucked up too. You're not getting anywhere.
Mate, I seen one time, and it was like, what do you call it? All the guys busting out over the one, Bukkake, which I think Bukkake, which is a Toyota, I think. But all these boys are sitting there just fucking thumping the plum, and then, you know, it's clearly like, you know, she's working away, and I equate it to like, you know, when you see those circus performers that have to spin plates and they have to keep the momentum going in as many as possible. Right? So she's sitting there, and then all the boys are just like...
It's like the reaction timer at W5. Do you know the
It's like laser tag.
It's like the, you know, the dance mat back in the day. You're like,
dance twat. There you go.
Fap revolution.
Shaft punk. So when I watched this thing, and obviously it's such a weird thing to watch, even when it's not a blooper, that all these lads are standing around trying not to look at each other, and she's like, you know, it's getting intimate with all these lads, and obviously they all bust a nut, and then some guy, I don't know, I kind of feel like this guy was like, you know, when you're a student and your bin bag is properly full, and you're like, you've got like a tin of Coke empty, and you're like, I'm not quite sure where to put this. So he just fucking busts like this perfect line of jizz in her hair, like a highlight, like a streaky highlight, and it's the most perfect line I've ever seen. And he just goes straight to the wig, like straight to the barnet, and it's like a perfect fix. And she's like, what are you actually doing? She's sitting there covered like someone just fucking flung cottage cheese at her. And she's like, excuse me.
Not the wave. Thank you very much.
I have to get two gallons of Tresemme to get this fucking spa fit.
It's like, did you ever watch Heroes when it was on? That might be the last thing I watched as it came out.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
It was good, and then it got shit. That happens with so many things. I'm binge watching. We watched all of It's Always Sunny again. I rewatched Breaking Bad. The one thing that I want to start, but the problem is Izzy, my girlfriend, wants to watch it with me, but doesn't want to watch it No, because she thinks it'll just like it's too dark for the pandemic. We just got a box set of The Sopranos,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, it's too much because it's like everything's too dark anyway. I just like, and we're also watching the US Office, so like that's
Yeah.
Better Call Saul. I watched that when it came out, that new series. You know the way it came out week by week.
Yeah.
And The Last Dance. Fuck yes, I watched Last Dance. Sorry, I'm getting like too excited about that.
I haven't seen any of them. I'm just stuck in the porn bloopers. I'm still playing. I seen one. Did you ever see the one where it was like, this guy? He's quite like built, but he's got like this wee like chipolata dick on him, and it's basically he's standing up and she's like, her head's basically at his bag, but she's like lying this way, and it takes him like 38 minutes to bust the nut, and when he does, it's kind of just like. Like when you don't have a while out of toothpaste left and you have to like ring it up from the bottom and then it kind of goes and like a wee bit comes out and the director loses the director as a fucking the Coen brothers and he's just like, what the fuck, you've kept me waiting for like half an hour for this fucking cum shot and you can barely see it in this lens now. So the guy who's the porn performance beats the fuck out of him, just like punches him in the face. That's what he got.
Well, you gotta assume that the like I know like Tom Cruise has his fucking outbursts, but as actors, like most actors aren't mentally stable, but porn actors are another level of not mentally stable. Like there's something fucking going on there.
Yeah. I think it's probably, obviously it's a very dark profession when you look at it, but I just love the fact that they have agents. So they literally finish one shoot and they're like, that's me, that's the nut. Then they speak to their agent and the agent fires all these new things at them and they have to decide what they want to do next. They're like, here, we've got this scene where you're bucking a horse. Then there's this one where you're getting licked out in the shopping trolley. And then, and you're like, what? And they actually have to think about, as you say, what's going to get them a bigger following. They're like, should I take it in the chuff? We'll have two lads both go in the chuff at the same time. And then you have to plan like your bleaching and stuff around it. And you have to like bleach your arsehole, bleach your dishcloths. You have to do that.
Here's a podcast recommendation for you. One of the wildest podcasts I've ever listened to is the Lance Armstrong podcast, which exists.
Right.
And he speaks to people who have gone wrong in their life and want to kind of find a path to redemption. So there is an episode in the world on all good podcast apps of Lance Armstrong interviewing Mia Khalifa.
Right.
And it is fucking wild. From start to finish. And it's like, do you think at any stage on those mountains in France, he was like, you know what I'll be doing one day?
They both know what it's like to get a sore arse.
Oh my god. It was so really fascinating though. She was like, I've only done 12 videos.
Yeah. But
they've just been chopped up and sent around and this and that and da 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 da. And I was like, you should have watermarked them.
It's fucking, oh mate, that's fucking madness. I'm trying to think like what else about like, see, that's the thing. The lockdown now has definitely gone on too long for you to appreciate anymore. Like when we last spoke, obviously there were certain things in the pipeline and people had positivity where they're like, well, I could learn to bake and I could maybe do an online course. And I think now everybody's exhausted any creativity they have. Because when we last spoke, your garden gigs were still running when we last did Woodstock.
Yeah. Which was like, and they will happen again. Like I think like mom was like, should we do it again this summer? And I'm like, I mean, it fucking looks like it. Do you know what I mean?
It's been out of a choice.
But yeah, I think like the verdict is in. The surveys have been done. Banana bread does not cure depression. Like I think people realize that going for jogs and making banana bread isn't going to solve all your problems. Like you need to confront your dad about what he did to you.
Freezing Easter egg, you bastard. You dirty bastard.
Like this. And everyone got so excited about I mean, it probably less so like, but in England, there was like 21st of June, blah, 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 all this fucking whatever. And you're just like, like, first of all, that's at the earliest, and also that's ages away. Like, that's such a long time away. Like,
yeah.
I can't bring myself to email like comedy promoters or anything because it's just, it's like I had gigs booked in January that obviously didn't, like, it's just like I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I've got 2 gigs in the diary, and I don't want to reach out to any of these clubs and be like, yeah, I'd love to come down and do fucking. The other thing as well, because I'm so active online, and like I've gained quite a solid like skill set at the online stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still fucking sorry? My fucking phone's ringing and it's telling my laptop to do shit. So your face just disappeared.
Oh, sorry.
Am
I back?
No, it wasn't your fault. It was my fault. It was my fault. You're right. The fucking, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the booking gigs and shit. Oh yeah, here's what it is. I online punch pretty far above my weight in terms of how long I've been doing comedy and like where I should be in the pecking order. So in a way, like gigs coming back and me getting emails being like, do you want to do an unpaid 10-minute trial spot? Is just like me coming crashing back down to where I should be.
Yeah. At least you've got the common sense in a way to kind of realize that your social media doesn't, like, if you've got a massive social media following in any respect, it doesn't always flow into the rest of your life. Whereas
no, not at all.
You know what I mean?
And like,
it's mad.
You have to get good at the fucking live thing. And I'm like, I've come to a certain level, and I was like pleased with where I was heading, and I was at a certain point. But it's like fucking, I've only been doing it for like 3 and a bit years.
Yeah.
So like, I think some people at the minute get so obsessed with like putting out clips and podcasts and all this stuff. Where like within that time, like they feel like they have to be like a polished comedian, like they have to be the finished article straight away. Whereas like, if my entire like angle on comedy or my like style of comedy changes in the next 2 years, fucking right, like as it should. Do you know what I mean? Like after 3 years, you probably shouldn't know what your fucking take on stuff is, what your like comedy voice is. Like
100%.
You have to still be willing to experiment and fucking bomb. Like I literally want to go on stage and bomb. I just want to fucking get it all wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's where you find the good stuff, and that's where you find what's like kind of authentic about you. And I think, like I'm looking forward to getting back into gigging as well, because that's like, none of us wanted to be podcasters. None of us wanted to make sketches. Like we're all stand-up comedians who do other things.
Yeah.
And it's all just like trying to fill the missing jigsaw piece of getting up and getting validated by a room full of people.
Yeah.
And we're just not getting it at the minute.
Yeah. Do you feel then, in terms of where you were, in terms of your ability, do you think, I suppose it's true that the lockdown is sort of, do you reckon it's pushed you back a bit, or do you reckon it's just kept you at the same level? You know, like it's kind of halted you a bit, or do you feel you've maybe lost a bit of ability?
In that little gap and in the garden gigs, I had a real nice space because in London, it's like gig every night, like 8 gigs a week. Just make sure you're fucking gigging, and it's just very, very frantic. And you're always like, I'm always just writing material, like trying it. So you don't really have time to think about like what you're trying to achieve or what, like who you're trying to be, what kind of comedian you're trying to be. So it gave me a good bit of space, like imposed space that I wouldn't have taken otherwise. And then I came back to the garden gigs and had the bizarre experience of, again, way too early in my career, I got used to performing to my audience, because it was like my email list, my Patreon, like those are the people who were getting the fucking tickets. And then I went back to England to do like club gigs to just like strangers, and I would get up and the audience would just be like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is abrasive, because I just didn't have like the trust going in there. Like I wasn't performing to my audience. But I think what performing to kind of a room full, like, or a garden full of people who like know who you are and trust who you are, like it gives you more space. I feel like I came out of the lockdown with like a very different style of comedy. and I was finding it difficult to match my old material with my new material, and trying to like work out where that all mesh together. Because I think what happens is normally our material like grows and moves as we change as like people, but then like we don't really notice it. We just like add in a line, take out a line, change a wording, and it just happens gradually because you're a fucking different guy than you were.
Yeah.
But what's happened is like we've changed massively, particularly because there's been so much fucking reflection over the past year, and like just imposed, like just living in your own head.
Yeah, you had no choice but to reflect, really, didn't you?
Yeah, so we've changed loads, but all my material's just like here. So I'm so like out of touch with, it feels like a different person wrote this material than I am now, which in a way is like true. So I like, and none of us have ever had to do that fucking shift where we like just jump all the material over, whether you need to sit down with old bits and be like, how would I say this now? Like what would I try and say with it now? Or whether you just need to fucking can it. And what I started doing was like trying to do old premises without using any of the same lines that I used before. And I tried to go on and be like, what's this joke like say? Like, what is it? Like, not the words it uses, like, what does it say? And then I'll just try and explain that as fucking me. And it goes so badly so much of the time. But it's like, but I have to do something, because I just felt like, it felt like monologues that I'd learned written by someone else, just like reciting the old jokes and going, it didn't feel like stand-up again. So I think it's been really good for that stuff. But then like the sharpness of like little bits of crowd work, like your brain just isn't in that gear. Like you're not like quick to be like that. Like it's just not flowing. Or if you're working on a new idea, like ideas and lines aren't coming into your head.
Yeah,
you're just like slower than you used to be. So I think it'll take a while to get back up to speed. I'm trying to get as many like MC gigs booked in, because I think that's a great way to get back into that fucking just being on stage and getting the motors going without having to do much material. Just do a bit of crowd work, maybe a couple bits, and you get to go on and off and kind of assess what's happened, go back on, try a different bit, come back, and like. So I'm trying to get that in, but everyone's down a rung, particularly in England. Like, you know, when Kevin Bridges is performing in the back room of a pub to 30 people, you're going to be back on the open mics. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's a good point that you make there in terms of, you know, it's the scary thing about trying to come back to this, you know, in terms of maybe trying to book MC spots and general spots, is that you really can't put a time frame on when you're going to get back to what you were. And if you ever will it be the same dude? As you say, you feel like it's a different perspective that you have now. So that's the thing about coming back is, you know, will it be the same comedian? Because then obviously if it's a different comedian and you've got a different comedic sort of voice now, that's you on a different trajectory to the previous dude. So again, you could technically be back at square one in a weird way, where you're like, I'm back to the start now and fleshing out this new vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see things coming back. I mean, I didn't do much when we could do gigs in between lockdowns, but you know, like the garden gigs were great. You know, I assume you must sort of look back on them pretty fondly, you know, considering
so
they were great,
brilliant, and just such a good, like, just something to kind of like hold on to for the rest of the time. It's just been like, we did that thing and it was really good. It felt very like authentic and like really good nature, and it was good. It was, you know, it was really heartening is like, you know, some comedians hate their fan bases, and you'd hate to be one of those people who gets on stage and goes, Jesus, not these fucking idiots again.
Yeah.
The garden gigs were great because like I'd never sold like a solo show before or done anything like that. Particularly when like I'm based in London, and actually a lot of my kind of like social media following is in Belfast, like just from, you know, like the people back home who like share stuff and like kind of have those bigger phones. I get tapped into those audiences, and it's like So I had no idea, other than like from social media, what my kind of like my tiny semblance of a following was starting to look like, or like what kind of direction it was heading. And it was just so heartening to have all these people come to my actual house, and be lovely and be super sound, really receptive audience, but not too nicey like they could take like the jokes that were being made, and like I mean, they took fucking 45 minutes of Paddy McDonnell at the second show. It was there was one bit where he does, I mean, I would feel bad revealing one of Paddy's bits if he hadn't been doing it for about 10 years. So do you know that bit he does where he says, I've got 6 kids, and that lets you know I've had sex 6 times. Even the wee black one's mine. She was on the beds when I was in McGabry.
Yeah.
And he told that joke, and it was obviously like just amongst that first lockdown or just coming out of it. And like all the Black Lives Matter stuff was happening. And he goes like, she was on the sunbeds when I was in McGabry. And I got like a kind of muted response. And he went, I went so much better, you know, before.
Yeah. There's such a great thing about just your mates not getting the laugh. And I don't mean like on their whole, you wouldn't wish that on anybody, no proper desk, but just wee bits, particularly if they're like, I'll just fire out some of the old bits to get them warmed up. And that doesn't do well.
Yeah, because we've all been there. And like, I've had comedians really get annoyed at me in London because they've been like bombing, and I've been laughing at the back of the room because like I think it's really funny.
Yeah.
Like when I'm bombing, I like to hear comedians laughing at the back of the room because it acknowledges. Because if it was a shit comedian, you wouldn't laugh.
Yeah.
Because a shit comedian bombing is what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But a good comedian dying is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because we've been there, and you know that stand-up is so precarious. The whole art form exists on a tightrope. And if anything's not in place, the whole format crumbles.
Yeah.
And just watching that happen, like if I'm bombing and I hear comedians laughing at the back, it's just a bit of like, it still feels terrible, but it's at least like, oh, like I'm not alone. Like this has happened to other people. Like people understand that this, like, it's not your fault. Like you haven't like really fucked up here. Like it's fine. But people like this one comedian like pulled me out of the comedy club and was like, "Can I talk to you outside?" After, because I laughed when he was. And look, the show was right. There's 2 rooms at this comedy club. In the big room, Jack Whitehall was doing a preview, so it was rammed. And in the small room, it was like an open mic with 9 audience members. So I got up and did my set and was like, this is the funniest thing ever. Jack Whitehall's in the other room. Like, just did some crowd work, just laughed about the whole concept of us performing to these 9 people who probably wanted to go see Jack Whitehall, but were told that's full, go in and see these great comedians. And like, we all bombed, everybody bombed. It was an unwinnable situation. And I was laughing away, and we were all cracking jokes in the back. And then this guy like pulls me out and goes like, I don't know about you, but I take this seriously when I'm up there. And I was like, fucking hell. Like, what? Like I look, if you don't like that or whatever, but I mean, laughing is involuntary at the end of the day. Like, I'm just fucking...
Like, again, I just want that to be a part of my life again, because I think as much as I love doing Woods Talk, and I was doing Woods Talk before COVID, you know what I mean? So it's always been a thing. And I think it's great, it's good for generating material on the solo podcast. And then obviously when COVID kicked in and I started doing these, good way to keep in touch with all the buys and just have a bit of crack and keep your sanity and stuff. But I think the thing I miss the most, and I'm sure this is more so applicable to you as well, putting out sort of a lot more like sketch content and stuff.
Yeah.
That, likes and stuff are tremendous. Don't get me wrong. And when you get retweets and all and stuff does maybe get viral and all, it's great. And if it does get you a few followers out of it or a few opportunities, unreal. But that's a lot of nameless faces in their house, maybe laughing at one of your videos, but you're not getting the brunt of it. You're just getting the like or them retweeting it or going, this is great. but it's not as if they're in the room with you laughing their bollocks off, which you were used to as a stand-up comedian. So it's still great, but it's just data at the end of the day. And it's, don't get me wrong, you appreciate the support, but there's something about, you know, just being live, and particularly if it's something, if it's an ad lib or a new bit or an old bit, and you know, you just hear that fucking laugh, and then you relax into it, and
it just hits in the room, and it's like those little moments where you just like, do you ever get annoyed at your own brain, where if you're like working on a bit for ages and you're not quite getting it, you're not quite saying the words in the right, or you're not doing whatever, and then you're just mid gig and your brain goes, there it is, perfect.
Oh, they're like the gig adrenaline that kicks in, and
and your brain just goes, oh yeah, I've solved that problem for you, and you're like, why didn't you do that before?
It's fucking,
and it's like that moment where it just like pings, and you're just like, oh, like it all, because like I think about this way too much, because I was so involved in like different art forms. Like I've done theater, I've been in Shakespeare's, and I was a classical musician, like performing in orchestras. So it's like I've done all these weird things in front of audiences and had all these like different experiences, and like I've been trying to work out why stand-up is so much better than anything else. Like, why is it the best shit? And I figured like the reason I think it is, and I'd be interested in your thoughts, where it's like a comedian or stand-up comedy at its best is the comedian gets up and says something that they think but wouldn't normally say, and it's like a little bit like it puts their neck on the line a little bit to say it or to voice that in whatever way, where it's like oh fuck, I can't believe he said that. And then so the comedian is like putting themselves on the line and putting themselves out there by saying the thing that they've thought that no one else might think. But then bizarrely, when the audience laughs or like chooses to react in that way, they're announcing to the room that they've also thought that thing. And they like agree with the potentially like neck on the line sentence or joke that's just been said. So it's the only art form where the performer and the audience are having the exact same, because if the audience member laughs and they're the only person in the room that laughs, then they'll be dead embarrassed. They'll be like, oh fuck, I'm weird. In the same way that the comedian thinks, oh fuck, I'm weird. There's only two of us who think that. So it's the only art form in the world where the audience are as at risk of embarrassing themselves and as on the line as the performer. And everyone, like when everyone buys into it and everyone goes, we're in this together, which is why like I film all my sets, but I kind of don't like doing it, like because there's something so magic about everyone just agreeing that this is like, it's just for here, like this is a secret that we're all buying into, and no one needs to know anything that's been said like this show.
I agree. That's a good point you made. I think, you know, at the end of the day, like when you're talking about stuff that the audience is thinking about as well, obviously they feel validated. But I feel as an art form, which it is the only art form really where you're applauded as the entertainer for thinking along the same lines as the audience. You know what I mean? So it's a good thing when you and the audience are on the same page. If someone goes to see a painting and go, well, I could have fucking done that, it's not, they won't appreciate the art. Or if they go, oh, well, that like I could sing better than that. You know what I mean? There's something about the fact that they go, fuck, I thought exactly the same thing. Or when they turn to their mates and go, you fucking do that. If you were on about way back, is what one of your bits, isn't it? And you go, you used to fucking do it in primary school, and then you're like, everybody loves it. It's like if you can get your stand-up, whatever way you want to present it, if it's fucking improv or puns or props or music, if you can get that mirror, if you can get a mirror and do, and I don't give a fuck what any sort of snobby comedian says, but any comedian who thinks Peter Kay isn't good is chatting out of a hole. Or that the Royal Family's not a good TV show. We're like, they tapped into shit that you couldn't even see. And fair play, Stuart Lee and all class, but I think the mirror aspect of things is, for me, as an act, I've loved, like when I'm able to do a face that people's mas do, or if I can walk like a spider or lean like a culture, and then when you can sound like them, or just say a line that your dad's always said, or if I say something like, my dad used to freeze an Easter egg before you'd head about it and then go, my dad fucking did that. And Yeah, man. So it's that aspect I miss where you're connecting with people. It sounds so
Yes, so
fucking
much. Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
wanky to say it, but you know what I mean? You do get that connection where you're just like, has anybody else done this? And when they all have or know someone that has,
yeah.
it just that's why I feel like
But
comedy
that,
fans are just so fucking fanatic now, where they're like,
yeah,
wait for
yeah.
you
There's
after
such a
show and they want
connection.
pictures. And then if they listen to your podcast, they sort of get to know you and they get to know the comedian because the comedian's the heightened version of you. And as
Yeah,
you say, you're putting stuff out there. Like a comedian, Vittorio, if you were like that all the time, if I was like comedian Roy Woods all the time, we'd be insufferable
yeah,
cunts. We were like, will you stop making that
yeah,
face? Why are you talking about
yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that's why I think podcasting is quite important, even pre-COVID, where they're like, they want to know the comedian and they want to know you. So they want to know
yeah,
what you thought of this restaurant that you went to over the weekend and then come see you do stand-up.
yeah.
Like, oh, there's his jokes. But I remember I went to this restaurant because he talked about it in his podcast. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
part of this
yeah,
fuck.
no, it's that connection with people. There's an interesting thing that I've noticed as well, where like this is why it's so hard because there are some things that everyone's thinking that if you say on stage as a stand-up, it doesn't work because everyone goes, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like too obvious, like
Yeah. It's finding the line, isn't it?
yeah, and it's like that line of like it has to be like just the unspoken truth of everybody's life where
Yeah.
everyone goes, ah, fuck. Well, I always thought that, but I've never
Yeah.
said it. And it's just like, oh, fuck. And like, look, that can be anything from the way you put the Hoover into the fucking cupboard or all
Yeah.
the way to fucking what you think about geopolitics or like race relations or
Yeah.
fucking Me Too or any of these fucking, it's like, it's all that same thing
Yeah.
of making someone go, ah, fuck, yes, you've summed it up. You've
Yeah.
summed up the thing that I've been trying to work out in
Yeah.
my head. And I find I interact with like the number of times a day I say, oh, yes, Doug Stanhope has a bit about that, or
Yeah.
Chappelle has a bit about, and it's like, it's how I interact and compute the world because so many times I've seen a comedian do a bit.
Yeah.
Like one of the bits that I frequently tell people about yours is the deaf R2D2, and I'm sure that you're sick of people bringing it up. But it's so funny because I grew up in Belfast, and you hear so many of those fucking people, and just
Yeah.
like just someone summing up something that you've seen 1,000 times but
Yeah.
have never had the words to sum up was just
Yeah.
like, of course.
Yeah.
Of
No what?
course, that's what it sounds like.
You know what it is? It's real magic. That's fuck
Yeah,
all your car shit. Like it's real magic. The thing that comes to my head about how stand-up can be that powerful is when you see something so simplistic that someone's tapped into and people fall off the seat laughing. First example I
yeah,
can give you, years ago, Black Box, Mickey Bartlett was doing, I think it was like one of Colin Gaddis' show, and Mickey was just doing support. And Mickey
yeah,
did a bit where he was like, what is it about when women get to a certain age, the word yes is completely removed from their vocabulary and replaced with a short intake of breath? And he just did this conversation. I was like, isn't that fucking mad? And he did that. And it's just the way he did it. And everybody was just like falling off the seat laughing. And all he did was
yeah,
breathe in.
yeah,
Yeah, there. And I was going, my granny did that. Do you know what I mean? So even as a
yeah.
comedian, I'm going, yeah, but that's how you know you've got a good bit when comedians go, I didn't fucking see that, you dick. Fair play.
That's what you want to. Yeah, I like it's so like there's such a little like aggression to it, and it's definitely like there's so much that I carry into the London and English scene from like because I didn't come up doing comedy in Northern Ireland. Like I
Mm.
started in London and then come back every so often and kind of join in. And but my kind of interest in stand-up comes from going to Lavery's and
Mm.
seeing you and Gaddis and Mickey and McCann and all those people kind of performing and being like, that seems like, but you seemed like aliens when I was going when I was like 17, 18. I was like, they're not real people. and then
Don't exist.
and then I kind of started and then I came back and like there's a difference in like there's an openness in the Northern Ireland comedy scene about how we feel about it and kind of those silly little aggressive things like thoughts that we have in our head where like I have one where I'm like, I want comedians retiring at the back of the room. Like, that's how good I want my comedy to be. I want comedians at the back going, well, there's no point me carrying on. He's done it. Like, he's done the thing. And it's like way loved and it's silly. And like, I remember I texted Geddes after like the first gig that had gone well in London. I was just like a fan and messaged him on Instagram and was like, hey Matt, I just had my first ever gig. Like, and I know it's not a competition, but like, I feel like I was the best on the show. It was just an open mic, but it was just really cool. And I was like, I look up to you and blah, 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 blah. And he just replied, it absolutely is a competition. Which is, looking back, very Geddes. Like,
that's a super Geddes response. Like.
Very, very Geddes. To be like, fuck everyone else.
Right, man, before I let you go, you seemingly have a lot of like podcasts and daily things you do. What would you like to plug before we finish? Where can people find you and stuff?
There is 2 things that I would like to plug this week. I have a new like weekly news roundup that will be coming out on YouTube soon that I'm making with this app that have hired me to make a fucking like Charlie Brooker style thing. And I'm really pleased. I wrote the script yesterday. We're filming it tomorrow. So I'm really fucking excited about that. That'll be weekly for the next few weeks. And then hopefully longer term, it'll be called Patch Notes. But if you follow me on Instagram, I'll definitely spam the shit out of it. But the next thing that's coming back that we took a break from because our producer was in Spain is the No Blacks, No Dogs, No Irish podcast.
Awesome.
Which is really fucking funny. And you can bet that next week's episode after the fucking Meghan and Harry, because every week we have a Black of the Week, an Irish of the Week, and a Dog of the Week. And we like debate who should be each of those. And that's the whole podcast. So get stuck into that. It's obviously on all your podcast things, and it's on YouTube as well. And it's good crack over there.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks again for coming back on, man. It's good to chat to you as
thank you
always.
For having me. Next time anything happens with when Harry and Meghan get bumped off, you can have me back on.
Yeah, I'll tweet you or send a pigeon out if you haven't been blacklisted from the internet. Morse code in the house off a frozen Easter egg.
It's like the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter, where he gets the egg and you have to like listen to it underwater. It's like, hereby, fancy a podcast.
You looking a bit of podding, are you? A pod steer. Anyway, man, thanks again for coming on, and I appreciate it. I'll chat to you very soon. Take her easy. All the best.